Welcome back, everyone. Today in the workshop we have the kashima Japanese maple. I didn't know if this was a kashima or not last year because there was no tag on the tree. After this year's growing season, me noticing that the tree was basally dominant, I've come to the conclusion that this is a kashima maple. Last year we got a little bit colder winter. It lasted a little bit longer. And the trunk on this tree, as well as all the branches, were this orangish color, this freshly grown twig here. And that's also an indicative sign that it's a kashima maple, so that's what we're going with. Being that it is basally dominant, not apically dominant, meaning the lower part of the tree is the dominant growing part of the tree, which is true with a lot of dwarf species Japanese maple. Means that the top of the tree, doing what we did last year, is going to cause some dieback. And it has. It's caused quite a bit of dieback, actually. I was anticipating that, so I left a lot of these upper branches long, knowing that they were going to die back considerably. Some of them have died back 8 to 10 inches. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the tree. We're going to cut back the dead branches. We're going to look at the tree, reevaluate the tree, see what we need to do as far as the lower branches, because now that I know the way that this tree grows, I know what I need to do to kind of keep it in balance so we can fill the canopy at the top of the tree. It grew very well this year. The tree is established in the pot now. It's got a nice root base underneath the soil. When I put this tree in here last year, it was very, very unstable. Now when I shake it back and forth, it actually moves my turntable instead of moving the tree inside the pot. So, like I said before, we need to start with doing the work on removing the dead branches. Now, the dead branches are going to require a couple of things. We're going to use a 12-inch spherical knob cutter, or we're going to use a 12-inch concave cutter. Now, I have bent more concave cutters trying to remove dead branches than I have live branches. Dead branches are a lot harder to remove than a live branch of the same size, because they're not wet, they're not viable anymore, they're not flexible, they're dried out and hard. So I tend to use the knob cutters a little bit more because you can get a little bit more torque on these and not worry about bending them more so than you can with the concave cutters. So what we're going to do is let's start at the top here. And I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to pick a branch, check it out, see where it's died back to. For instance, this top branch here has died almost all the way back down. But right at the stub, where it's coming out of the tree, there's a live portion with 2 buds. So we're going to cut back to that. And we're going to go through the top of the tree, and we're going to do that with every single one of them that we have up there. And once we get finished with that, we'll come on back and we'll talk about what we're going to do with the lower portion of this tree. Stick with us. Alright, now that we've eliminated all the dead stubs off the top of the tree, and with the understanding that, of course, the leaves are the solar panels for the roots to be able to develop, and the roots develop to absorb nutrients and water and bring to the leaves. We don't want to do a whole lot of removal on this tree this year because, of course, last year was the first full growing season it was in this pot, which typically means that it's going to focus on root production more than anything. The second year is when it's going to have enough roots established that it can start sending some more energy to the top part of the tree to allow the foliage to grow and allow some new branches and buds to pop and create those new branches. So all we're going to do is go around the bottom of this tree, because of course this tree is basally dominant, and look at the branches that we currently have and try to determine if there are any that we can remove or reduce so that more of that energy goes into the top part of the tree versus the most established part of the tree, which is the bottom half. For instance, this branch right here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this branch so you can see what I'm talking about and how we're going to go about reducing the amount of branching that is on here. I'm going to bring it to the front and then we're going to zoom in on it. Alright, the branch we're working with is this branch right here. And I know it's a little hard to see from your perspective. And I may grab the camera real quick and just give you an aerial view so you can see what we're looking at as well, or maybe an underneath view, and then we'll go further with it. From underneath, you'll see that we have a lot of branches in a small area. And that just goes along with the basally dominant aspect of this tree. So what we need to do is we need to try to figure out what we can eliminate. We've got this branch, and this branch. This branch here kind of comes out. It's straight, not very interesting, not a lot of branching in there. At the very end it's got a mass of twigs. So I'm apt to remove this one versus this one that's actually a little bit closer to this branch here, because we can always wire it out once we get this one out of the way. And if you follow this branch out, it has one that juts off here. It splits right here again, and then splits here again, and then it's got a nice tracery of twigs out beyond that here. So we're going to end up eliminating this back branch here. Even though it's in the right position, it's not good. It's not a good branch overall. We've got 3 coming here, and again, the one that you would typically remove would be this center one. This one over here, not so much movement, just got one kind of spindly thing going on where this has got a lot of ramification already, and we can wire it into this position. We can wire it into this position. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be going along the bottom of this tree and just kind of looking at instances like that. Maybe that's even a better view of you to be able to see what's going on here. We've got this branch here. It comes out and just has a cluster of twigs at the end. Versus the branch down here that's below it. It splits off down here. It splits off again here. And it continues to ramify all the way out. We're going to keep that branch. We've got 3 of them here, actually 4, that we're going to need to look at as well. Again, this branch here just comes out and is straight, no ramification until it gets to the very end. So that would be another prime candidate for removal. So we're just going to go around the base of the tree and look at branches like that and figure out what we want to keep and what we want to eliminate. Like this here as well. Decent branch comes out, splits off way back here, ramifies on this end. Not a whole lot of ramification here, but it's straight. Had a branch here that died off, comes way out here and finally splits, and then comes way out here and finally splits and ramifies at the end. Not really sure if we're going to eliminate any of this, but if we were cutting it back and this was at the top, I would eliminate here and keep the smaller stuff so we can continue ramifying it out to the end. But again, we need to keep our silhouette in line. So those are the types of things we're going to be looking at as far as keeping what we can keep and what we can eliminate on these lower branches. Whatever we eliminate on these lower branches, again, the energy is going to get transferred into the upper portion of the tree. So let's get set back up and get started. Alright. Go back to that branch we just spoke of. And go ahead and do what we need to do there. get that wired out here like this into position later. That'll work well. Again, I'm really contemplating just removing that entire middle portion of this branch, to be really honest with you. So I've got a lot of splits and ramification in this lower branch that I can build out throughout here. With that, the rest of what I've got back here, I think I can utilize to build this in. With a really nice tracery, and we can eliminate this whole center section here. So that's what we're going to do. That's going to open it up a lot more. Eliminates quite a bit on this branch, which doesn't make it as dominant as it was. But at the same time, I've got a lot of room to work with now in spreading these branches out and getting these kind of into a better position for ramification. So that's a good move there we made. We eliminated 2 of the 4 branches on this particular, well, let me rephrase that. We removed 2 of the 4 twigs or main branches for the ramification of this branch. Secondary branches, I'm sorry. We removed 2 of the secondary branches on this side. Let's go to the back now. Leave that one the way it is for now. Come over here and see what we've got going on. Got a very large mass of twigs here. Some of them overlapping each other. Ones that are just not right for the overall composition get eliminated immediately. This tree's going to need a lot of wiring. And again, anything that's just blatantly out of place and there's something beyond it that can be replaced with a bud that started is what I'm going for. Any tree, any branch that comes out and does a 90 and crisscrosses over a bunch of other ones, we're going to be looking to eliminate those first and foremost and utilize what's left over to make the rest of the outline. This little guy up here, just not right. We got too many branches coming out at one location here. Got 5 branches coming out at one spot. Need to reduce that down to just a few. Okay, that's about as much as we're going to do to this tree this season. I just wanted to come in here and eliminate the dead tips and the dead branches up top, because what's happening is it's back budding on those same branches just down towards the bottom of those trunks or the inner nodes where they come out. And I wanted those to be able to have a chance to go ahead and extend growth unimpeded by all the dead branching that's up above here. Again, this is only going to be the second growing season that this tree's been in this pot. We did remove a ton of roots on this tree initially. So this year, this past year, I didn't really do a whole lot other than height reduction. I wanted to keep as much of these branches down low to act as the solar panels for the roots. So now it's had a full growing season of root development, more so than any branch extension. There really was no branch extension on this tree, with the exception of this one right here. And that's because this branch died back, and instead of dying all the way back down, thank goodness it decided it wanted to pop a branch here. We're going to utilize that branch because that's really a main portion of this tree that I need to keep. So thank goodness it did that. It also has a bud that's popped back here as well that's going to be growing up, and we're going to kind of train it out this way. So we'll have one coming this way and one coming this way on this particular part of the tree. Just wanted to come down in here and kind of tidy up the branches down low now so that they're not as dominant as what's going to be on the top. Of course, the sun's going to hit the top ones first. And there was a lot of crossing branches here and there at the bottom that just weren't going to be okay to utilize for the final design of this tree. So let's get them out of the way now. That also helps us balance the energy on the tree, and it's going to give the upper part of the tree more of a chance to catch up now that the roots have filled this pot. I'm not eliminating the stabilization wires just yet. I want to leave them on here for just one more growing season, or maybe even halfway through this growing season. Just depends on how well this tree reacts this spring. If it takes off and starts growing really strong, I see no need to keep these wires on here. And the wires were just for stabilization while the roots were developing underneath the soil level. So we're going to go ahead and just put this one back out on the bench. We're going to let it grow. I'm going to pull this weed out of here and pull this weed out of here, just because they're unsightly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. These are, I think this is lamb's ear. It's not plantain. So anyway, we're just going to clean up the soil level, pull a couple of decent sized weeds out of here, put it back on the bench, and feed it, water it, and allow the top of the tree to grow freely to play some catch up and get some filling in. And then 2016 is when we're really going to start cutting this thing back and getting it into its first initial styling. Because really right now this is all just rough sketch work that we're doing. The initial styling is going to be to set the branches, do some wiring, putting things where they belong, and start getting the basic outline of the tree, and then start working on the ramification. So we'll do one more 360 on the tree and get it on out and let it grow. And right about there is where I see the front of the tree. Somewhere right in there. Thanks for watching.